7 p.m. We're live with our feed. Everybody that's on Zoom, can you hear us okay? Deb and Becky and anyone else that's out there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can hear you.
Can you hear me, Kathy?
Okay, we're going to begin. This is a public hearing of the Town Council regarding our proposed fiscal year 2022 town budget. Before we begin the public hearing, I'll just ask our town manager, Robert Lee, to give a brief overview of what the budget is in terms of the town side. I don't know if Superintendent LePage is going to give a very brief overview of the Board of Ed, and then we'll open it up for public comment.
Yes, we have
Thank you.
20 quick slides that we're going to go through.
All right. 26 total or just yours?
20 total. 2-0.
Only 10 are mine, so we don't have to.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here this evening to conduct this public hearing and to give a brief explanation on the proposed budget, at least the town manager's budget. So we'll start with the budget as proposed. Will total a little bit over $64 million, which is an increase of about $1.6 million or 2.52%. There's 4 major categories in the budget. Only 2 of them I'm recommending increases, and that's the Board of Ed operating budget, which is an $882,000 increase or 2.26%, and a general government increase of about $700,000, which is 3.72%. Town summary of expenditures by function. You can see here that great majority of the increase is in the areas of public safety and public works. And with that, I will turn it over to Steve LePage, Superintendent of Schools, to give his brief explanation and summary.
Sensing a theme here about brevity. I don't know why. Well, we'll start with our district vision and mission and goals and our strategic. As part of our strategic planning process, we look at this every year and modify it and adapt it as we need to. This year, we added the 3 pillars at the bottom of this document with the Board of Ed approval back in September, adding those foundational elements of equity, social emotional learning, and mastery to all the other actions and goals that we focus on improving the outcomes and what we provide to students teaching and learning throughout our district. You know, I won't go into all the goals. You've seen all this before, but everything we do in our budget development leads back to this document, is generated from this document and supports it. So it's really important what we include on here, and it's what we focus our efforts on and our financial requests on. I had spoken the other night about the impacts of COVID-19 on PCS, and they've been substantial. We've had to adapt and thrive through that adversity that we've had to face, as everyone has in our community. It's certainly true of our school district and all the many challenges that come with running a comprehensive school district with everything within all the different levels and our athletic programs and our clubs and activities and everything that we offer to our students. So we've done our very best, and I'm proud of the efforts we've had. If you go to the next slide. That was graduation, by the way, for those of you watching from home who weren't there. I know Mr. Wazorka was there with his daughter graduating, and we were all there, but what a special night. I thought this slide, I know the town council saw this the other night, but resilience through COVID-19 challenges. I think it really captures a lot of the work that has happened in order to keep our schools open, our students learning and moving in the right direction, feeling supported and cared for, and working toward that vision document. And it's required resolve, perseverance, and resilience. I can tell you that I highlighted there, even through the Super Bowl, we've done contact tracing every weekend at night. The Super Bowl, I think 3/4 of the Super Bowl there was contact tracing going on with Stacy Buden and Julie Samar and myself. So lots of work and a ton of effort, meetings, and I'm just proud of our team's effort. On the right side of this slide, you'll see the numbers there, but Plainville by the numbers: 2,263 students, 435 staff members, so almost 2,700 individuals in our school district. And throughout our this year, we've been in school 20 hybrid learning model days. I went back and checked all the numbers again today. 80 full in-person learning days as of today. So between the hybrid and in-person, 100 days. 13 were remote. 5 of those were snow days. 1 traditional snow day that we agreed upon, the Board of Ed voted on to give the kids a day off and the first snow day. So 115 total days down and 60, should be 62 to go. We have 177 student school days this year. My apologies. All the contact tracing happened, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and each of those involved many hours of work. But through all of that work, we were able to keep our schools open, keep everyone safe, keep everyone healthy and recovering from COVID. Something I'm very happy to say that everyone who became ill within our district did return to school, return to work, and is doing well. So I won't go through all of those numbers, but we are at about 140 cases in total in the school district since the beginning of the year in August. So, and we have no confirmed school outbreaks and very little or no probable spread within the schools. So a great job by our entire team, and I'm proud of that. And the reason I'm telling you about COVID is because it does have a lot of impact on what we're looking at in the future and planning for. The next slide, you will see quickly, I'll go through the grant offsets that helped us to reduce our budget for the, I'm sorry, that's okay. The next slide is the impact on learning loss. So you see about 112 students had withdrawn from the district, and a combination of moving to another town for economic or COVID-related reasons. Some were related to deciding on homeschool because it fit their family's needs, and a lot of different dynamics at home. We also had 475 students at one point who were full remote learners. So we had to teach students in all different ways, while at home, while in the classroom, both at the same time. And it was an incredibly challenging task for our educators. We had to learn, relearn, and just keep getting better at what they did. And I'm really proud of the work they did. And it's all, a lot of that's due to what's in our capital plan, what's due to in our budget. We have the tools and resources to be able to do that, and we did it better than, in my opinion, than anybody else when we had to flip the switch and go from full in-person to full remote last March. And the next slide just shows you the grant offsets that helped us to fund the PPE and the extra staffing and the remote staffing and the substitute staffing to cover for the remote staffing and every other combination you could imagine. About $1 million will have been spent by the end of this fiscal year, and there's much more that needs to be done. Fortunately, we were qualified for a $1.6 million ESSER 2. The CARES Act was ESSER 1, and then we got the Coronavirus Relief Fund. Those total about $1.2 million, and then the ESSER 2 funds were 1.6. About half of the ESSER 1 is spent, and all the Coronavirus Relief Fund money is spent. And we have a comprehensive plan as to how we're going to spend the ESSER 2 funds, which cannot be used to supplant a budget, but they're meant to be used to supplement the needs that have resulted from the COVID learning gaps and closures and a very, very different learning for all students during a pandemic. And outside of their control, we want them to recover and have a successful, rewarding life and to live our vision statement. So on the next slide, you'll see how, and I'm not going to go into this so much on here. The bottom part is what the state provided us with, what the money can be used for ESSER 2, and we have to submit a full plan for anything that we're going to do to show the state that we've determined a need through assessments and that we have a plan that we're going to follow, and we have to report on the results of that plan. So everything's very much project-based. That's how we attack all these issues. At the top, you'll see 2 columns of different projects. And I will not go into those in great detail tonight, but they involve a number of members of staff, programs, and services that we have as an administrative team across the district decided that we are going to pursue, and we're in the process of drafting a lot of the work behind those plans, including some very much expanded summer programming this summer, after-school programs, enrichment programs, additional staff that I talked about in my budget development. So that is all factored into the ESSER 2 grant money, and if we get any other additional grant money, it will help to fund these projects. This is a 2-year fund, so in over the course of the next 2 years, a lot of these projects will be pilots, and we will have to determine at the end of that time whether we want to continue those or phase those out and take a different look at how we're doing things in the district and assess when we're building our 2023-24 budget. We'll have to look at everything very carefully because we would not be able to continue all of these programs along with a regular budget going forward. So we'll assess it as we go. Next slide, please. This is our 10-year, and I'm sorry, my left contact lens inside out. It's been driving me crazy all day and never changed it, so I'm going to do my best to see the numbers. been one of those busy days. The 10-year PCS budget history, you can just see at the bottom that summarizes, our average increase over the 10-year period is 1.83%. The adjusted increase over those 10 years is 1.09%. When you factor out the ECS cuts from the state mid-year and at the end of the year, when you factor in the additional enormous health insurance expense that increased the budget but did not add services to our budget in that year, that's the rate when you factor those out. So the 10-year inflation rate is 1.73%, and as you can see, our adjusted increase is far below the actual rate of inflation. This slide just shows, you've seen this before, the contractual increases, and I did have Sam, Mr. Adlerstein, my business manager, director of business operations. I had him run the number based on the new projected health insurance numbers, and it's closer to 2.01% for contractual increases when you factor in the new insurance rate we received after the Board of Education adopted the budget. It came out the next day. So that's something the town council obviously will be considering as a reduction. But when you look at contractual increases less the health insurance over budgeted here based on an estimate, it's actually 2.01%, just to give you perspective on that. I wanted to share that since the other night. Next slide, please. I'm almost done. This just gives you, so when I met with the Board of Education, we met several times. We had the joint meeting here, Mr. Lee and I, to the council and the board, and just presented an overview. And then the Board of Education heard from me a number of times, 4 times, I believe, and 4 different presentations, a lot longer than these. And we went through everything, the whole budget book, 100 pages of the budget book, line by line. They had time in that book to really go through everything, comb through it. The first rate I came in with was 2.84%. Thanks to new information on ESSER funds, that included a lot of the coronavirus recovery within that budget. I was able to remove anything that was related to COVID-19 recovery and acceleration that you saw in that slide with all the different projects. That was all removed, including the staffing to support that. And through a number of meetings and through a series of discussions, the rate that we ended up with, the Board of Education adopted, was 2.26% increase. And this is just a summary slide to close. It's an increase of 884,700. I can't read it from here. 705, and it's a 2.26% increase. And as you know, that also includes about $202,000 of health insurance based on the rate we had at the time. So, when that's factored in, that'll be a town council decision, but it would bring our budget increase down to about 1.75% increase. And I think that's all I have. Happy to address any questions later.
I'm going to follow up with a couple of items. One is the capital improvement plan, recommending a capital improvement plan that involves 40 projects, total a little bit over $2 million. But there'll be several sources of revenue, one of which is the general fund contribution, which is paid for directly through taxes. I'm recommending that number stay the same as the current year. That's why you didn't see an increase in the earlier slide of $313,000. Other sources of revenue included, I'm recommending an unassigned fund balance of a little bit over $869,000. LOSIP grant funding, which we've saved up over the last couple of years, of $630,000. Town Aid Road grant funding from the state, $240,000, and we have a couple of projects, small projects that have been completed, and we have balances of them of $10,000. So that would be the source of revenues for the recommended capital improvement plan. These are some of the larger projects that we're proposing. One is town facilities paving. What we're talking about is town parking lots, specifically the firehouse and the police department parking lots, to get them repaved. They're in pretty bad shape, and we're recommending that get done next year. And we have a large catch basin cleaner that needs to be replaced. It's a $400,000 item. We're recommending that we put $200,000 away this year and $200,000 for next year. And you'll see the other items, some of which involve the school board of education as well. All of this results in a mill rate calculation. As we stated earlier, the budget was about little bit over $64,000. We have offsetting revenues of a little bit above $14.5 million. A lot of that coming from the state of Connecticut. And again, recommending a use of fund balance this year of $400,000 to offset the mill rate increase means that we have to raise through taxation $50,444,000. Based on our current mill value, that's a mill rate of 35.29 mils. Our current mill rate is 34.62, so when you take the difference, that's 0.67 mils. It's a 1.94% increase in taxes. However, as you heard earlier in the Board of Education and Mr. LePage's summary, there is a projected health savings in our health insurance rate from the state that would it's kind of an automatic reduction, or at least that's up to the town council to decide. But if that reduction is made of $202,000, the mill rate, the adjusted mill rate would be 0.53 mils, or a 1.53% increase in taxes. I see that as pretty much our what I would consider at this point in time our worst case scenario. I think there's opportunities that may come forth that will even help to reduce that further. There's three items in particular. One is that the governor's budget, he recommended that the phase-in of the ECS be delayed for 2 years. I know that there's been, I believe there was an education committee meeting this morning or today in Hartford, and I know that there's some opposition to delaying that ECS phase-in. To Plainville, that's a $230,000 impact. So if that phase-in doesn't get delayed, that would add more revenue into our budget and would allow us to lower the mill rate further, if that was the decision of the town council. Additionally, the Valley Water rate increase, we factored in about $169,000, and that decision has not been made. I've participated in the hearings, and I'm relatively optimistic that that full amount won't be granted. At least that's my wish, my hope. I don't think it's fully justified, but we won't know that till later on, probably in early May, where that's going to end up. And as a result, there may be some additional savings on the expenditure side there. Additionally, the COVID relief package that's being voted on by the Senate, I guess probably tomorrow. I think they're still reading the bill today, if you're following that at all. The Senate will vote on it. If it gets passed, there's significant revenues that will be coming to the cities and towns. Plainville is, under that current bill, is scheduled to get about $1.7 million. We'll have some time to be able to use it. What will be important is what we'll be able to use it for. And I think we have to be very careful about that. But I suspect that if that does come, in our direction, that we'll find a way to, help with this budget as well. We have to see what how we can spend it. We may be somewhat limited as to what can be done. But we'll see about that, and I'm sure we'll find out more information. So based on those three factors, I think that there's an opportunity to reduce the potential mill rate increase even below the 1.53% as being spoken about this evening. As far as our mill rate history, I think we have a very good record with regards to taxes, and this is just a slide that shows that our average increase in the mill rate over the last 9 years has been 1.34% a year, and I think that's a pretty good record, especially given some of the issues that have happened up at the state as far as state aid municipalities and other factors, as well as items such as just inflation by itself. So at the 1.53% increase, the impact to the average homeowner who paid $4,750 in taxes in the current fiscal year, their tax increase would be $73. That's 1.53% increase. And for the average condominium owner who paid $3,311 in taxes in the current year, their increase would be $51 or 1.53%. that's all I have to report. We start our work sessions on Monday with, and then we go throughout the week. They start at 6:30. It'll be televised as well. And now we'll open it up to anybody who wants to comment or ask questions.
Okay, thanks both of you for your explanation to the public about our current proposed budget. And as the town manager Lee said, we're going to begin our budget deliberations on Monday at 6:30. Monday, March 8th at 6:30. We will have subsequent ones Tuesday, March 9th, Wednesday, March 10th, Thursday, March 11th, and then we will be going into the next week if necessary. So these are they're public meetings. The public can't participate, of course, but anybody that wishes to listen to our discussions is welcome to do so. So that is our schedule at this point for the budget deliberations. I would also at this time like to open up the public hearing. In the chambers, I don't believe we have anybody that has signed up to speak. Nobody, other than staff and members of the town council. Robert, are we going to open up phone lines for folks if they wish to comment on the budget? Does Kevin have that ability to see if there's folks? Okay, so I'm going to now speak to Kevin Ross. Kevin, do we have anybody on the lines that wishes to speak to the proposed budget for the fiscal year 2022?
We have 4 individuals in the attendees. I can unmute them. 3 are board members. And then there's one, I'm not sure the abbreviation's PC. So I'll start with PC first. I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself. If you have any, you want to make a comment, please state your name and address.
Anybody? Anybody that is online wish to speak to the town council regarding the proposed budget at the public
So
hearing?
I have to work through one at a time. So I'm going to allow that person to see if they want to speak after they can. I'm going to move to Mrs. St. Lawrence. You're allowed to talk if you'd like to unmute, if you have a comment.
Okay.
Nothing there. Nope. And then Ms. Harding, I'm going to allow you. If you have anything you'd like to say, you can unmute.
Okay.
All right. And then we're going to move on to Mr. White. If you want to speak, you can unmute. So at this time, I'm guessing no one would like to speak. That's everyone.
I'm having trouble hearing if anybody's speaking.
No one has.
Anybody that is participating? I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Have you been able to hear me? This is Kevin. Okay, no one has spoken. Nope. I've opened their mics and none of them have spoken.
Okay. Hearing that we don't have any other participants, I would ask for the town council I want to thank everybody this evening for coming and for preparing your documents and explaining to the council and the public the plan for next year. So at this point, I would ask for a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Madam Chair, so moved.
All right.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Thank you very much, and we will begin our deliberations on Monday, March 8th at 6:30 p.m. here in the town council chambers. Thank you.
Thank you.